All right, sacrifices. That by means we're continuing in this mimer, which is called Hashem Liba Ozrai, that the previous Rebbe said in 1927, when he was announced in exile that he was freed. He said, for instance, the world depends on the Jews learning Torah, something like the sacrifices in the Holy Temple. Sha'al Yadam, that by means of them, Na'aseh, there is made, Aliyat ha'olamot, an elevation of the worlds. Ukamimer, and like the saying, Raza de Korbana, Ola a Raza de Ein Sof. The secret of the sacrifices goes up to the secret of Ein Sof. The secret of the sacrifices goes up to the secret of the essence of God, the infinite one. In other words, you're right, sacrifices are not understandable. It's something totally above understanding. It goes up to the essence of the Creator. The Creator creates understanding. The Korban Ulashon Kiruv, that a sacrifice is the language of coming close. Ukamoshe Katuv, like it says, Adam ki yakriv, a person when he makes a sacrifice. Ki yakriv, the word for yakriv means to make a sacrifice, and it also means to come close. If a person wants to really come close to God, it can't be done, you can't expect it to be done in a way that's totally understandable. God, after all, creates us. I don't know if you remember, we learned a sikha about the Rebbe, that those people, I've been watching and reading lectures made by an excellent speaker. He's an English fellow. He passed away recently, died recently. And he's a big atheist, but very, very eloquent and learned and how do you say, inspired atheist, right?
40, 50 years old?
He's about 60 years old. Hitchens, his name is Hitchens, right? And so, I mean, I was captivated by his command of the English language and he's a very sort of a bitter sort of a person, a very bitter, but he's eloquent. He's just eloquent, and he's also so enthused, driven by what it is. So his thing is, him, there's other philosophers, Bertrand Russell, there's other people like that.
Like Gorky Vidal.
What?
He was like Gorky Vidal.
I didn't never read him, but
he was very intellectual, very...
But his thing is intellect and intellect and intellect and intellect. So everything has to be intellect. It's the same with all these others. So intellect and intellect. But the Rebbe has a very good point, and the point is that if you really base your life on intellect and say that intellect and logic is the only really guide for man, so that's not really logical, because where does that statement come? How do you know that intellect and logic is really the guide for man? Where did you get that? Right? Your intellect demands it. So what? Good. So your intellect demands it, but it means that it's convoluted. The whole argument is really convoluted. You're going to say, intellect is the main thing because my intellect tells me so. But the fact is, it's not your intellect that tells you so. It's your feeling. You have a predilection to intellect, and that predilection that you have, that tells you that intellect is the main thing. And then you can find all sorts of intellectual reasons to support it. But why does a person say, it's the same thing as saying there is no truth? No, is that statement you just made, is that true? There is no truth. That's a true statement. In the end, these statements and ideas are based on human feelings. And they're based on something above understanding. And Judaism is saying the same thing. Judaism is not saying that the world is based on intellect and our intellect is the best. Judaism is saying, don't disqualify faith. Faith is a tool of perception. It's something that's above understanding. And that's what it means. The secret of the sacrifices goes up to the secret of Ein Sof. The secret of the sacrifices goes up to the secret of the essence of God. So that's, okay, that because you're leaving the world of intellect and pure logic, so that also leaves the whole world open for, your whole world open for anything. Then maybe, Nietzsche was right, maybe, Hitler was right, who knows? Just anything goes. So he says, no, therefore we have the Torah. That's why God gave the Torah. God gave the Torah to decide what is right and what is wrong. So in other words, you have above logic, in logic. The Torah is a logical system, but it's above logic. How do you know? Because once in a while there's commandments, like we had the para aduma, and the idea of the sacrifices, which connects you to something which is totally above logic, the creator of logic, Ein Sof, the infinite one.
But these people then say, well, we have other systems that we made. We have communism, it's philosophy.
Okay, I'm not trying to prove
Yeah, I know.
Judaism. I'm not trying to prove that it's right, because Judaism, in the essence, is based on faith, right? If you believe in Judaism because it's logical in some way, that's the reason that you're attached to it. So somebody's going to find an opposite logic, right? There's no such, like Kant wanted to have pure reason, pure, understanding. There's no such thing as pure understanding, because it's always going to be based on your emotions somehow or other, on your preferences and your nature. Like it says, Adam ki yakriv. When a person wants to come close le'elukus, to godliness, hu mikem, it comes from you. Mikem korban lashem, it comes from you. You have to bring from yourself. And that's the whole idea of Judaism. Right? Religion in general is, how am I going to find security in the unknown? What's going to be tomorrow? What's going to be after I die? What's going to happen to me now? My health, my wealth, my well-being. So you believe in something that's above you, and that provides these things, which is true. It does. It really does. It provides stability. I took courses in the 12-step program against addiction, and one of the basic principles is that you have to, first of all, admit that you're really out of control and that you can't help yourself, and then you have to believe in a power that's above you, a power that stabilizes a person, right? A helper, something that helps you. So this is it. The same thing is with Judaism. You can come close to God. You can come close. Now, we're not talking just about coming close to the spiritual, not just coming close to a power that's above you that will help you. It's also true. The essence of Judaism is what I can give to God, what I can give to the Creator without thinking of what I'm going to get. That's called mesirut nefesh, giving over my soul. What is my soul? My interests, my desires, my plans, my future, my security. There's a Creator that's creating me. That's pretty good. He's creating me. I mean, if it's true, then it's really amazingly good. He's really creating me. So he knows what he's doing. If you put yourself in his hands, everything is good. How do you put yourself in his hands? You just throw yourself, no. You have to get a job. You have to work. You have to do it all yourself. You have to work. That's why the Jews, they didn't want to go into the land of Israel, because they would have to work. They got terribly punished. We just learned a weeks ago. They got a terrible punishment because they didn't want to go into the land of Israel and do the work themselves. You really believe in God means you have to do everything yourself. And God helps you. And that's the point where God really is the only helper. We'll see what King David meant, that there's a lot of helpers and God is one of them. And then after you finish, you realize that really God did it all. He gave you the life, He gave you the power, He gave you the creation, He gave you the success. But meanwhile, you have to do the whole thing yourself. That's what Judaism says. That's the idea of the sacrifices. You have to bring the sacrifice. You have to give it over to the Creator. It all depends on the service of man. The korban hu inyan kiruv. The whole idea of the korban, is that belonging? Is that to, no? That's the idea of the korban is kiruv, coming close. Kideita, like it says in Rabbeinu Bechaye. The korban hu kiruv akochos v'hashemos. Korban means making close your powers, your abilities, and the names of God that are creating you. V'yadua, and it's known, next page please. V'yadua, and it is known to call Allah goremes hamshacha. Very basic principle in Kabbalah, and that is very, very used in Chassidut. Namely what? That God reacts. God reacts to what we do. God reacts to our prayers. God reacts to our deeds. God reacts to our Torah. It says when a person sits and learns Torah, God sits opposite him and learns. When a person puts on talis and tefillin, God reacts. Our charity evokes charity from God. Our prayers, God answers our prayers. Yehi ratzon, we change God's will. Right? That's the whole idea of the sacrifice. The whole idea of the sacrifice is that we do something from this world and that God reacts. The sacrifices, especially because they're done in the Holy Temple, it's doing exactly what God wants, how God wants, where God wants, when God wants. That's the idea of the sacrifices. Taking part of the creation and revealing in it that the creation is a wonderful, amazing, organized symphony of reality. And that's done by means of bringing the sacrifices. It puts everything in place. If there's a creator, the creator is creating everything. That makes a person come close to the creator. You suddenly realize that, hey, I'm also being created by God. I also am a miracle. God wants me to be dynamic. Right? Not just to sit and meditate and think about God. Once in a while you do that. That's the idea of prayer in the morning. But the main thing is to make the sacrifices. Give energy up. Go out of yourself. Okay, Herschel. Ukamoshe katuv, like it says, Rabim Oave Ashir. Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong page. Yes, yeah. Yes, oh. V'yadua, and it is known, to call Allah, that every elevation, that every time a person directs himself up, you pray to God, even on your own. God help me. Goremet hamshacha, it causes a reaction by God. It's called a drawing down by God. Lezot, therefore, hine, al yedei korbanot, by means of the sacrifices, hare, behold, nimshach tosvos or, there is drawn down extra light, v'chayut, and life, ba'olamot, in the worlds. K'mo shekatuv, like it says, reach nichoach la'Hashem. It is a pleasing smell to God. And Rashi says, nachat ruach, that God gets pleasure, she'amarti v'naseh rotzoni, that I spoke and my will was done. Shenimshach tosfot or, there is drawn down extra light, b'shem Hashem, in the name of God. Now, the name of God is the power from which the world was created. The word, God's name, Yud, and then Hey Vav Hey. Hey Vav Hey means to be. And Yud is constant. That we learned that in Shar Yichud Ve'emuna, in the Tanya. The letter Yud, in grammatically in Hebrew, means future. If it's before the letter, it means he will, but it also means he does all the time, constantly. This is what he does. And they bring the pasuk Kacha Yaseh Iyov. This is what Job does all the time. So it's the same. God is the creator of the world. Yud means constantly. Hoveh means to be. He's constantly creating the world. But the world covers over God. That's one of the conditions God made with the world, that it would cover him over. You can be in the world and never hear, like these philosophers or these speakers, right, the atheists. I mean, these are very intelligent people, very sensitive people, right, and very sensible people. And a lot of them are really after, the truth in some way or another. True, maybe they have to ignore certain feelings that they have, but we also ignore certain feelings that we have, right? A person has certain feelings that he doesn't want to believe in God. Here, King David, who was in the middle of this terrible onslaught of enemies and bad luck, it seems that God had totally left him. If you read the Psalms, read it in English. The Psalms, one after the other, of how King David is saying, I'm all alone, no one is helping me, please God, you're my only helper, the only one I can stand on, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I'm being pursued all the time, right? And you think, well, that's pretty bad. You turn to the next Psalm says, more than the hairs on my head, I have enemies, and God, please cast them down and save me, and right? That's really bad. Then you turn to the next one and he says, I can't sleep at night, I can't eat all day because of the enemies that are after me, even my own children, my own people in my house. That's pretty good. There's like 150 of them. Right? Once in a while, King David is jubilant and he's praising God and he's happy, right? But the vast majority of the prayers of the Psalms are really bad. Any normal person would say, okay, enough, these Psalms. It's just not getting me anywhere. I don't think David even got royalties off of the book. Just so much troubles that he had all his whole life. So a normal person would say, okay, enough of this God business. Who needs it? Doubts. He says, no, put those thoughts away. So these people are the atheists. Whenever they think maybe God doesn't exist, so they put those thoughts away. So we have our thoughts we put away, and they put their thoughts that they put away. Right? Our feelings, they have their feelings. The idea is that it's some things that are above understanding. That are above understanding. That's the idea of the korbanos, to come close to God. King David realized that all of his problems and tribulations and trials and pain and difficulties, it was like a sacrifice to God. He was giving himself up to God. The fact that he didn't have any doubts, despite all the things that happened, right? That's exactly the point of man being in the world. That when you're in a situation that makes you angry, you don't get angry. You think, what should I do? When you're in a situation that makes you depressed, you don't get depressed. The world makes you crazy. Don't go crazy. Right? The world makes you angry. The world makes you frustrated. That's why God put you in the world, so that you'll be a beacon of light in a terrible situation. And even if you're only a beacon of light to yourself, and even if it's the last moment of your life, to have a positive thought, that's what God wants. Why you want something like that, I don't know. But the alternative is not so happy. Not such a happy alternative. Yes, to get depressed. Yes, to get angry. Yes, to have a lust. Yes, to go after what I want. Yes, to go, okay. To be egotistical. In some way in the middle is religion. The pleasures of this world are only temporary. I want real pleasures. I want eternal pleasures. So it's the same basic egotism, but it's just directed in a spiritual way, which is in a way good, much better than being an atheist. Right? From being an atheist, a person could just murder, do whatever he wants to. He's God. He decides calls his own shots. Says the Rebbe, Judaism says, make sacrifices to God. The highest thing is the holy temple. It gives a pleasure to God. Tosfos, or an additional light. B'Shem Hashem, in the name of God, because the name of God is creating the world. By a Jew can go above the name of God, draw light. It's called from the essence of God into the name of God. V'zeu shebezaman Beit HaMikdash hayakayim, in the time that the Holy Temple existed, hayom me'or me'ir gilui elokus, there was shining, revealed godliness in the whole world. Kamo asar nisim, for instance, there were 10 miracles, shahayu b'mikdash, that were in the temple. You with me? The 10 miracles that were in the temple every day. Ukamayim Razal, like the rabbis say, Keshem shebo lir'os, okay, Katem shebo lir'os, kach bo lir'os. Just as you came to be seen, right? You should be seen. You came to present yourself in the temple. Ken bo lir'os, you also came to see. Just like you would go to the temple so that, so to speak, God would see you, you would present yourself in the holy temple before the creator of the universe, before God. God would see all the people coming up. It's the same thing, the people would see God. In the holy temple, they would see revealed God clearly. Ubefrat, and especially b'kadosh kadoshim, and especially in the Holy of Holies. Shahayim me'ir or ein sof, that would shine the infinite light of God, a bli gavul, unlimited, begilui, in a revealed way. What happens when you see the infinite light of God? No, you don't. The infinite light of God. If you go improperly, then that's not right. Right? In the Holy of Holies, there were very strict laws about who could go, because the revelation was so intense. It was such an intense revelation that only the Kohen Gadol could go in, and only the mitzvah, one on Yom Kippur, and only to do his work. But generally speaking, what is the revelation of God? When a person feels the revelation of God, what does he feel? In general, happy. It gives a feeling of tremendous happiness. Fortunate. I'm so fortunate that God is creating me. You feel you're being created. You feel that I'm just a creation of God and God is the creator. As it is in this world, right? The atheists and these people, they have a very good point. You feel God. You sense God. You understand God. You believe in God. What type of a life is that to live? I mean, we're in a real world. We're in a real world. You can't just live your whole life on things you just don't feel and you don't sense and you don't perceive and you don't understand. You have no experience of. Just somebody else tells you that there's such a thing like that. How could you? He said, well, you went to the Holy Temple and you felt it. People went to the Holy Temple and they felt, I am a creation and there's a creator. And the creator cares about me. He loves me. And the creator wants me to make him happy. That's what he wants. It's in my hands. I can do it. I can repay the creator. Pooh, this is amazing. Right? Of course, there's also the flip side of that, right? I am being created by the creator. If so, I'm pretty important. Huh? I'm really something. I'm not just my mother and father created me. I'm just here by accident. God wants me to be here. I'm something special, right? And now what happens when I have suddenly a desire to do something that's against the Torah? So I say, I'm so special. I can't be that God wants me to suffer. It can't be that God wants me not to feel good. And I'm God's partner. I'm God's son. I'm His creation. I can do what I want, right? I can do it. And that's why people worship idols. I'm God's son. I want success immediately. I want to see it. And people would go and they would worship idols in order to get, and there was also a tremendously good feeling. But feeling from the other side. It's like the feeling you get from robbing successfully or from being honest, right? If you rob successfully, then you make a lot of money, right? Bernie Madoff, right? Madoff with all the money. He's the hero of Bernie Madoff. Stole like $100 billion from people. It was great. It was fantastic. A tremendous con man. Everybody believed in him. Think how great he must have felt. How wonderful, right? He took like
I don't think he ever spent much of it.
I don't know what he did. He didn't have to spend it. Just the idea that he had everybody in his pocket and that he could, that's the greatest pleasure of all. What greater pleasure could you have? You're driving down the road in a Ferrari. Here he took billions of dollars from these people. He was
scared every day of his life that he's going to get caught.
I don't think he was. I don't think that he was. I mean, maybe it could be. But nevertheless, you can say he was out of control. Maybe it was. But the fact of the matter is that he was, number one. He was the pitcher in the World Series. He controlled the whole business, until they caught him. Until they caught him in the end. But he was, tremendously happy. And what about the person who is honest? And because he's honest, so he makes, $5,000 a month or something like that, or $5,000 a year, whatever he makes, right? So, he's an honest person, though. He works in the bank. He never steals. He never cheats. He never lies. Right? So how much does he get in American terms today? $1,000 a week or something like that. And this guy was making $1 million a day by being dishonest. So what's better? So the answer is, being honest is a certain feeling that you get, but you have to constantly remind yourself, that honesty is a good thing. Honesty is a good thing. I really am accomplishing something by being honest, and then a person can be happy. Well, when people went to the Holy Temple, they really felt that there's a creator and he wants me to be honest. There's a creator and he wants me to be truthful. There's a creator and he wants me to be brave. There's a creator and he doesn't want me to be lazy. There's a creator and he wants me to do things on my own. Right? To get things done on my own. People would go to the temple and they would feel empowered by the creator. In the temple would be revealed godliness. In the same way they came to be seen, and it was to present themselves